Subscribe now.
Who will be our next Prime Minister? Liz Truss or Rishi Sunak? In just 6 weeks' time, one of them will be moving into number 10 Downing Street. Is now the right time to cut taxes, Rishi Sunak?
Well, look, we all took a decision to protect the economy and support the NHS through COVID. And of course, we all knew there was a bill that we needed to pay for that.
Under my plans, we would start paying down the debt in 3 years' time. So I'm not putting it on the never, never. I would start paying it down in 3 years.
Liz, that's simply not right. You promised almost £40 billion of unfunded tax cuts, £40 billion more borrowing. That is the country's credit card. It's our children and grandchildren, everyone here's kids, who are going to have to pick up the tab for that.
Rishi, that is not true.
There's nothing conservative about doing that.
Under my plans, we would start paying down the debt in 3 years' time.
You know what? Liz, your plans, your own economic advisor has said that that would lead to mortgage rates, interest rates going up to 7%.
I don't believe this negative, declinist language.
It's your own economic advisor, Liz. It's not mine. It's your own advisor.
I have lots of economists that are backing my plans.
I must clarify one part of your policy programme, Liz Truss, which is you say you're going to stretch the debt out, the COVID debt, which is, I think, about £300 to £400 billion over, 50 or 100 years. But do you know what long-term interest rates are right now? They're higher.
Let's be clear, Faisal. There is already headroom of approximately 30 billion in the budget. We are still able to start paying debt down after 3 years.
Can we talk about China? Because you've really been trading blows about China today over Britain's relationship with China.
What we do need to do is acknowledge that China is a threat to our national security. It's a threat to our economic security.
As recently as a month ago, you were pushing for closer trade relationships with China. This is not something you've advocated in government. I'm delighted that you've come round to my way of thinking.
I want to talk now about the tone of this campaign, because it has already become very personal, hasn't it? I mean, I am looking at your earrings, Liz Truss. There's talk of how much they cost in the press today. I don't know if they're the ones you're wearing, but £4.50 was the figure that was being bandied around. Your suits and your shoes, which were apparently much more expensive.
Look, I don't have any issue with how expensive anybody else's clothes are, and actually I think Rishi is a very finely dressed person, and I'm a great admirer of his dress sense. So that is not something that I would, and I don't know how she knows where I got my earrings, to be perfectly frank about it.
I want to talk about Boris Johnson. We haven't spoken about Boris Johnson tonight. Rishi Sunak, what do you say to Conservative Party voters who perhaps voted Conservative at the last general election because they wanted Boris Johnson as Prime Minister? What do you say to them, people who now see you as the man who brought him down?
Well, it was an easy decision. It was a difficult decision. I've explained my reasons for it at the time. But it was a decision I made on principle.
You know, yes, he made mistakes, and he admitted he made mistakes, but I didn't think the mistakes he made were sufficient that the Conservative Party should have rejected him.
If you lose this contest and Rishi Sunak becomes the next Prime Minister, what quality does he need to work on in order to be the best possible Prime Minister?
The thing I think you should work on, and I want to work on this with you, and if I win, I would love you to be part of my team, is taking more risks and being bolder.
In the first 2 years, when you are Prime Minister, what changes will people see under you, Prime Minister Sunak, on levelling up?
Manufacturing businesses across the country, what they tell me they need is that they want tax cuts on business investment, because they want to invest in more equipment, in machinery.
What I would do immediately is put in new low-tax investment zones with simplified planning so we could get on with building and we could get on with those new projects. I'd keep corporation tax low to attract investment from around the world.
But what we do need to do is acknowledge that China is a threat to our national security. It's a threat to our economic security. But we also need to stand up for our values. And for example, when it came to Hong Kong, I was pleased to ensure that we put the funding in place to welcome to this country thousands of fleeing who wanted to leave Hong Kong.
Rishi, I challenged you on this in the debate last week. As recently as a month ago, you were pushing for closer trade relationships with China. This is not something you've advocated in government. I'm delighted that you've come round to my way of thinking.
You said not that long ago that our relations with China were entering a golden era. Those
I
were
think
your
that was
words.
almost a decade ago I said that, Rishi.
It was just a few years ago. You went on a trip there and you wanted to deepen collaboration in areas like food security and technology.
In this war with Russia and Ukraine, would you be prepared to deploy the Royal Navy?
I am not prepared for the United Kingdom to become directly involved in the conflict.
We also, and I did this as Chancellor, made sure that we supported Ukraine financially with the arms and weapons they need to defend themselves, and actually it's something that Liz and I worked together on.
We've always got on well, and I think we've shared a belief in Britain. I've already said that you're a sharp dresser, so that's not something you need to work on. But the thing I think you should work on, and I want to work on this with you, and if I win, I would love you to be part of my team, is taking more risks and being bolder. Because I think that's what we need to do as a country.
Okay, and
we cannot just have more business as usual.
We're running out of time. Rishi Sunak, what quality would Liz Truss need to work on if she were to become Prime Minister?
You know, we had this in another debate, and I'm not going to do it again because I have enormous respect and admiration for Liz.